What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. I'm BobbyFi, going to bring you a quick MLB baseball show today because we got a busy day of basketball and stuff going ahead. We'll be doing every day during the weeks and try and get the weekend shows when we can, but I'm going to put this one up and just talk real quickly about a few things that I'm doing. I'm going to share my screen and just show you sort of my initial builds on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Look, this is definitely subject to change. Obviously, it's going to change, but it just gives you an idea of sort of the initial things I looked at. We'll quickly go game by game, sort of going through this. So basically, it's another big slate with Colorado on it who's going to have some ownership. I do different things like that. It worked out yesterday in the lineups that I did it. Some lineups I didn't, and I just faded it entirely. But picking out Tatis and Blackman and some of the spots in that game rather than going for everything. But I do have more of a game stack in one of my lineups just because I want to remind myself to get exposure. I'll probably mix it in some of these plays with my other lineups, but they were just ones that stood out at first glance. Instead of going over those, though, we can quickly go game by game. Now, this is an interesting one, the KC and Chicago. It's got a really high total, good hitting weather in KC. For some reason, it won't let me click on KC's name. But I actually think you have a great pitcher's umpire. I'm not going to stack in this game. I understand if you wanted to stack, I would prefer the White Sox. But personally, not for me, not what I'm going to do in this particular matchup. I don't mind any of the bats from Chicago. It's the usual suspects. Moncada, Abreu is a great idea. But I think it's mostly going to be a little bit of a stay away, only playing a few lineups tonight. So sort of narrowing my pool. But I do think there's a part of me that's tempted to play Gio Gonzalez here. You have a great umpire for him. He tends to get in trouble with control. So I actually feel like you might be able to get away with playing Gio even on FanDuel at 5,700, although there's probably better options. He could get through a team like this Royals team quickly, and he also could get lit up. But I would maybe embrace a little bit of variance, and if you're playing a bunch of lineups, get a little bit of Gio in there because no one's going to play him. Also allows you to do what you want with the bats and could end up having one of the better, solid pitching performances of the day. I don't think he's going to light anybody up, but he still has decent games in him. This is a spot where obviously you don't want the pitchers. We don't know how Tanaka is not going to go very long. Godley, I'm just not going to take anybody against the Yankees. I actually like the Yankees bats a ton in this game. One of the obvious better plays on the slate is going to be Aaron Judge at what is he at on this one? 4,600. Just way too cheap. People might avoid Stanton somewhat because of the extreme price, so I might go there. Judge has homered 3 days in a row now, by the way. As has Corey Seager, by the way, who I'm going to mention a little bit later. But yeah, this to me is the number one stacking spot you want. And I don't know that you need to go 3 or 4 or whatever you want to do it. It depends on how you want to go. I mean, if Voigt's starting again, he's 3,800. That's a good spot. It might be Ford today. He's 4,200. So you could try and get a lower owned guy there potentially. Urshela at third is always low owned. But look, the guy hit 310 with 20 plus home runs last year batting at the bottom of the order. I don't mind using him no matter where he is in the order. And then your obvious guys, it's going to be mostly Stanton, Judge. I'm a little less high on Sanchez, although I will play him a little bit. I just think he looks terrible, but he could even that out. One thing is Godley's not that bad of a real-life pitcher. I don't trust the Boston bullpen, and I don't know how long he can go. He does get the induced ground balls, so a fly ball guy like Stanton would grade out to be really good against him. Really, it's the whole lineup. You don't want to leave LeMahieu out of your stacks. Maybe you can make one without him, one with him, or something like that. Glaber is another one who I like a ton at shortstop. It's just actually shortstop's really strong on DraftKings today. Mostly because I love Seager and Tatis, and you don't need to pay these giant prices, but these guys are great options. This Yankee stack, and you're going to get a little lower ownership because of the Colorado game. So instead of getting 25% on everybody, except for maybe it will be for Judge, but everybody else should have more reasonable ownership, especially the non-big names. Aaron Hicks will be mildly owned, but I think even Glaber is not going to be too crazy tonight. But really, it's less than 10% probably on the first. Whoever plays it first. Probably less than 10%, probably like 10 to 15% on LeMahieu, but it's still good enough as a stack that where you can really prioritize it. And we'll get into some specific one-off plays, but definitely want players from Yankees in most of my lineups. Not interested in the Red Sox particularly. Don't mind if you want to always take a shot on JD, but it hasn't looked good, and I don't really want to go there today. Griffin Canning, I don't think is as bad a pitcher as everybody thinks he is. I'm a little concerned about what's going on with Greinke. Is it just this crazy, crazy price that we're going to completely avoid him? Because if it's just a crazy price on one bad outing, I understand the price is ridiculous, but I would rather face this Angels team than I would the Minnesota team without Trout. This Angels team is not quite the same. So I'm sort of interested in Greinke, but I'm probably not going to end up getting there on other lineups. I like Glasnow and Carrasco better. I actually think they both probably have same upside too. So I don't know. But I'm definitely considering him. I'm not going to consider playing Griffin Canning, but it does make me have less interest in the bats, a stack that I usually like to try and get some pieces of. I really do think the price on Brantley is just ridiculous. So I'm just going to keep playing him at 2,900. He's not even having ceiling games, and he's still getting you there. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. He's averaging 12 fantasy points a game. He's hitting 400 this year. He's already got a bomb. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. These numbers, while they're not blowing you away, that day where he does hit a home run, or even this day, like gets to 19, he's 2,900. And he's batting in the middle of the lineup for one of the top 5 offenses in baseball. Let's just keep playing him. I don't mind if you want to go to Correa too at shortstop at 3,900, but not really going to get heavily involved there. Love both pitchers in this game. A little worried that everyone's being a little hyper overreactive. So we've got Carrasco. Obviously, I've got him in the lineup already. He looked great the first outing against KC though. And then you've got another one in Maeda who looked great the first time out. But this Cleveland team isn't that bad. He did pitch well against a good White Sox team, but they're a team that's prone to Ks. It's a little nerve-wracking. Low total. I feel good about it. Decent pitchers umpire. I think that we can get on board with both these pitchers, and I'm going to be splitting them up a little bit. And really just not interested in the bats in this spot, which feels weird. But if you want to play Lindor, Ramirez, or anybody from Minnesota, you have my blessing. It's just not playing enough lineups to where I'm going to get there today. This is the one I'm trying to get more exposure to. I'm not as interested in the Mets side. I don't really want to pick on. I don't think Toussaint is as bad as everybody else does. And for some reason, my DraftKings is making it a little harder to click on these sometimes. So I don't think I don't know what's going to happen in terms of pitch count and all that stuff. I know he didn't pitch, well in the first outing. I just think I'm going to probably side. It's a great hitting environment. I'm going to side with the Atlanta bats where I do get exposure. Freeman, Acuna being obviously 1-2. We don't know what's happening with Albie, so less interested in the stack because of that. But there's a lot of good bats in this lineup. Swanson, Duvall, if he's in, although he's not going to probably be in against a righty. But that'll put, you'll have Matt Adams at first at 3,900, great price. You've got some good plays in this game on that side. It'd probably be Adams, Acuna, and Freeman as my favorites. And if you want to stack, you can throw in Ozuna or Swanson. But yeah, definitely one of the better spots to target on the slate. I would put it as a top 4 stack. Next game, Tampa Bay Baltimore. Not a great pitcher's umpire. We got a good low total against Glasnow, who, as I've been saying, is good, and people were afraid of him last time because of pitch counts and whatever. You can always be worried with these Tampa teams and what they might do. He did strike out 9 guys. He only threw 72 pitches. So I want to just say, if you're going to play Glasnow, I probably wouldn't play him on FanDuel as my only pitcher. And I'm even hesitant about playing him on DraftKings, even against this Baltimore team. He threw 72 pitches in his first outing. I want more pitches, but I also think he's got it in him. I just don't think at 50% ownership, we have to go there entirely. But if I end up playing like 4 or 5 big lineups, he'll probably be in 1 or 2 of them. Not somebody I would lock in but the upside against this Baltimore team is probably too high to just pass up. All right. So, and then as far as the bats go in this game, we can pick on Wade LeBlanc all we want. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to a ton of it on this slate. It's kind of a weird, I don't even know who the hitters I would really, really, really want on a one-off basis here. As a stack, it makes sense. Jose Martinez has been hitting lefties well, but that's a first base spot at high price. That's what I'm not talking about. You look at the bats, Yandy Diaz maybe, Rousseau, I don't know, Zunino, if he's in there, that makes sense. It's just, as a whole, I get it, and I want to go for it. But great, hitting weather in Baltimore. You've got a lousy starter, bad bullpen. I just can't figure out who I want to play. And Lau and the lefty, even if he plays, I don't even know if he's playing. It just feels weird. Anyway, I'm going to stay away from it personally. All right, well, I don't know if I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to find a way to stack it. I guess, I'm sorry. I missed one obvious one. It's Renfro. Renfro is the obvious play and probably should be prioritized. There's just a lot of other good outfielders. So do you want to play him over Aaron Judge? Probably not. But is he right behind him? Probably, actually. He's got so much power against lefties, it's crazy. So I actually think that now that I look at that, I'm going to make a little note to make sure that I have Renfro in some serious lineups, because I do think that I missed out on that one initially. I could bring up all of his numbers. It's just his ISO is ridiculous. I don't even remember off the top of my head. So no, it's absurd. Again, it's still early in the day, so we have more studying to do, but this is where I'm at for right now. All right, let's move on to San Diego, Colorado, the big game of the day. Here's another issue I have. I don't think these guys are terrible pitchers. I really don't. I understand that they're not great. I think we've seen upsides on both of them before. Freeland has pitched well in Colorado in the past even. So while I do have one Colorado stack up there, or one mini, it's a 3-2. I think it's 3-2 I got up there. I mean, you've got Freeland. Look, he pitched that. It was in Texas, but he had a nice one. His first outing, 6 innings, threw 80 pitches. I could see a tournament play and taking a shot on one of these guys. I would prefer Freeland, even though the Rockies are worse against lefties than the Padres are. I just think he's a little better. I don't know, though. Lucchese's actually – he's just more used to pitching there, I should say. I don't know. We've seen good stuff out of Lucchese in the past. I personally just want to take my favorite bats in this game. It sort of ended up as a sort of a mini stack here because I didn't really have any other stack to attach to. And again, these are all going to be mixed up. They're just players that I was reminding myself to get. I do have Maldonado from Houston, which I didn't mention earlier. I like him. It's a good hitting weather in LA today, but also he's just really cheap, and there's not a lot of great cheap catching options. So the priorities for hitters in this game, pretty basic. Matt Kemp and Chris Owings are your savings on the Rockies. Your savings on the Padres is Ty France and Austin Hedges, I guess you could say, at 30 whatever hundred at catcher. Those guys make a lot of sense. Priorities: Trevor Story and Tatis should be your priorities as shortstop today, along with, again, I mentioned Corey Seager. In fact, I'm jumping screens over here, but I'm looking at my FanDuel one. I'm going to have to make sure I get Story in one as well, because I don't have him in one of my big ones yet, which is just a little oversight, but also, again, a loaded position today. We just know which Story has done against lefties, especially in that building. Arenado, obviously, you want to mix in Arenado, Machado at third. That makes a lot of sense. Don't leave anybody out. Profar is in play. Tommy Pham is an excellent play. These are just going to be popular. So is, Will Myers batting sixth, 4,800 as a solid play. They're going to be popular. There's a lot of good options on the slate. So I'm just going to say I like them a ton. I just think you want to pick and choose and hope you get the right ones. Take the ones with the best spots, because that's clearly Arenado's Story, Machado, and Tatis as the best 4 hitters against lefties in that spot. Even if you get to the bullpen, they're still fine, obviously, against righties. Tommy Pham would probably be the next one. I want to just take pieces of it and not fully get a 4-man stack or more. You can see even here, I've only got a 3-2-2 stack going, not even a full 4-man. So I'm going to mix this up. Just want to give you guys an idea. So those are the priorities in that one. We got LA and Arizona. Not going to play either of the pitchers in this matchup. Luke Weaver at times has shown good stuff. If he gets wild, the Dodgers could absolutely be one of the best stacks of the day, so don't cross them off. Seager's my favorite play on them. He's been red hot this year. He's homered now 3 days in a row. He's just been, and he's going to be like 2% on it. And this happens every day. I get him at low ownership. People say it's a homer, whatever. The homer is for the guy who's, what has he got? I think he's the 3rd highest scoring shortstop this season. And he's just crushing it. He's obviously cheaper than the other guys are. Muncy and Bellinger would be my next in priorities, followed by Mookie. That's pretty basic stuff against a righty for the Dodgers. As far as the other way goes, I'm not going to play Urias. It's too expensive. I don't know what he'll go. I also like some of the Arizona bats in general. Wouldn't play him today. But, that's pretty much it. Just the Dodger bats, especially the ones I mentioned. And you could throw Pollock into a stack also. You got a little feeling good with his little homecoming. He's having a nice little series. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. Pittsburgh, Chicago. Haven't gotten a weather update on this one yet. Going to do that beforehand with the wind blowing in last night. But not interested in either of these pitchers, particularly at first glance, and probably not going to play them. Not really interested in the bats either. Going to do a little weather report later. That you always got to check with Chicago, because if it's blowing out, changes everything. It's not, doesn't change anything. It's just nothing. And then if it's blowing in, you just can't play hitters in that game, in my opinion. Obviously, the scary COVID, St. Louis, Milwaukee postponed. We've got Texas, one more to get to. Texas, San Francisco. While I don't feel good about it, I don't mind playing Drew Smyly. I don't like it. I am curious what we get for a pitch count on him. I know he threw 64 in the last outing, but that was after only 2 days rest. He's had a full time to recover. Like, he might be able to throw 80 pitches, and if he does, he's definitely interesting. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I like him a little bit on FanDuel. I've got It's deciding between him and Gio Gonzalez. So that's the other question of the day: Gio or on FanDuel, because they're just so cheap. I just don't know that on a one pitcher site that you really need to do that with Smiley. So I'm probably gonna have to change my FanDuel lineup. Anyway, that's that one, and I'm gonna make a note of that. No interest in the bats in this game for me personally. Honestly, don't even have like a one-off that I would prefer. I guess that if there was anybody, yeah, you got me. I just don't. I'm just going to leave this one alone in San Francisco. I understand it's hitting better, but it's not going to go there. Oakland, Seattle, excellent pitchers umpire tonight, so I'm going to take an interest in Fires. Vegas doesn't like him. Nobody likes him. He's going to throw pitches. He got roughed up against his old team last time. I'm not going to hold that against him. We've seen Fires out of the blue throw no-hitters even in spots like this, and I've won with him in the past, and I'm just going to take a wild shot on him. I don't mind some Seattle bats if you're not playing him, but I absolutely have some interest in Fires, and I have some interest in the Oakland bats. Again, good pitchers umpire. I think the bats you prioritize are pretty obvious. I think it's Chapman. The problem is third base is loaded. Pinder is the super cheap one who might get a bump in the order tonight. Hopefully he will. He's been really struggling this year, but he's 2,500. And if he gets a bump in the order, he's always hit lefties in the past pretty well. Chris Davis at 3,900 is a really, really good price, 2,600 on FanDuel. A guy you want to make definitely a priority to try and get some shots at it. He's been terrible again, too. Look, we have to have a short memory. This is a new season, and that's what I'm saying about Sanchez also. You know, it's these guys can all have massive power, and no ownership and no cost is definitely appealing. If you want to get creative and make Matt Olson a part of it, go ahead, but I don't think I'm going to go that far. Just picking out a few of those bats for me. And then Laureano, whoever ends up in the starting lineup for the A's, basically Scotty if he's in, is going to be interesting. So I like the A's righties, but I don't want to go with a full stack there. So mostly the full stacks should just be Yankees, Padres, and Colorado, but I'm not doing Colorado. So I actually am just siding with sort of the Yankees more as a full stack, and maybe the Dodgers and Braves. But again, mostly looking at mini stacks for the day. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to get out of here. I got some more stuff to do. And I want to watch some NBA basketball and enjoy my Saturday and watch some sports and all that good stuff, some golf. Good luck to all you guys out there. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.